So I think, you're looking at some of my colleagues who have had 2.5 years to bring this forward. Where were they under the Biden administration? If this had to be seen so quickly, where were they the last 2.5 years? They know what the rules are of the House. What they want to do is they are purposely using this. They strung out the clock. They are purposely using this now to try to make quick political points. But he's absolutely right. The American people can see through it. President Trump has said he wants to have all relevant, all legitimate records released. Pam Bondi has supported him on that. I support them on that. We don't want to have records released that are prohibited by the courts or that can harm or identify victims. We want to make sure that we're not doing that. But other than that, if they are legitimate and they are legal, show transparency. I think what you've seen from this administration is it's the most transparent administration that we have had. And all of the complaints that I'm hearing from folks on the other side of the aisle, keep in mind, these were the same people who literally for 4 years under a Biden administration had the biggest cover-up ever, that Biden was on top of his game. Crickets, absolute crickets. Yeah. Biden's on top of his game. No, there's no mental decline. Now we're supposed to believe them? It's obviously just a political ploy.
And one of them, it's not just Ro Khanna, a Democrat, one of them is a Republican, Thomas Massie of Kentucky, and Speaker Johnson is not too happy. He says, I don't understand Thomas Massie's motivation. But however, there we go. Tomorrow, recess begins. Want to get your reaction because in Texas, obviously, the border's been a huge issue. We're seeing this violence when it comes to ICE, people trying to deport the criminals, the law enforcement. Now, the Senate Judiciary today has Biden's border betrayal, criminal aliens in America. We have the left trying to say ICE agents shouldn't be wearing masks. We had an off-duty Customs Border Patrol officer shot in the face. He's going to survive, fortunately. This is today. Also, President Trump has said not too long ago, Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, Congresswoman Van Duyne, he wants to see Mayorkas perhaps be looked at closer for what he testified about the border being secure.
Yeah, I mean, these are the same people who are complaining that they're trying to dox our law enforcement agents and have them be attacked, which is exactly what we saw in North Texas when 14 people lured, these law enforcement officers out at a detention center and opened fire on them. They're fine with that. And yet, a few years ago, do you remember? They were willing to arrest some people who weren't wearing masks. It doesn't make any sense when we look at what's happening, all across our streets. Yes, we absolutely want to have law and order, and yes, we support these people. But when we look at what happened in New York, you had 2 people who got here under Biden's open borders, who committed crimes in sanctuary cities, were not detained because of their sanctuary city policies where they could have been deported, and they go in, they're committing a crime, and they actually shoot an ICE officer in the face. He was survived because he was actually carrying as an off-duty law enforcement officer. Mm-hmm. Perhaps we need more people in New York who are able to be armed, law-abiding, New Yorkers who are able to actually defend themselves against some of these policies. But I don't think you can see a clear case where the Democrats simply don't care. They continue to pick the wrong side and are defending the criminals at the expense of law-abiding American safety.
Yeah, time and time again. Real quickly, about 20 seconds, but you have some important legislation called the Stop Funders Act. That would include rioting, and people who fund these rioting, they could be facing RICO charges. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, what we want to do is make sure that we have every tool in the toolbox. We have seen riots ever since George Floyd that have been very organized, heavily funded. And we're going to say, yeah, we're going to go after, obviously, the people that are committing the crimes in the riots. But like that detention center in North Texas that I talked about, you had a guy who has been in a number of these different riots who is now facing attempted murder charges, who should have had that axe thrown at him a long time ago. But who is funding him? They had body armor. They had assault rifles. Who are funding these people? And I think that's what we need to get down to. And this gives them, under the RICO Act, expanding it to include people who are rioting and who are organizing and who are funding riots. And I think, until you actually get to the head of that, you're going to continue to see more people die unnecessarily.
Right. And sending a message, too. It will maybe hopefully incentivize people not to continue with that dark money funding of what we're seeing here. Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, always a pleasure. Thanks for stopping by today.